The stars beyond the viewing port looked cold and distant as Ambassador Tae-Yang Park stood aboard the human vessel Indomitable Spirit. He wore the formal diplomatic uniform of United Earth, dark blue with silver trim, though he doubted it would impress anyone waiting for him on Varantis Prime. The aliens had made it clear what they thought of humanity during their first message. Behind him, Admiral Haewon Choi checked her datapad for the 100th time. She was a military woman, comfortable with weapons and strategy, less so with diplomatic games. Dr. Yuna Kang sat reviewing alien cultural protocols, her glasses reflecting the glow of her tablet. Ji Woo Nam, their cultural specialist, stared out at the massive structure growing larger in the viewport. Varantis Prime was not a planet, but a constructed world, a sphere of metal and crystal larger than Earth's moon. It had served as the capital of the Galactic Confederation for 10,000 years. Thousands of ships orbited it, representing the 12 species that ruled known space. Their delegation vessel looked tiny beside the alien cruisers. "They are making us wait," Haewon said quietly. "Standard intimidation tactic." Tae-Yang nodded. 3 hours had passed since they requested docking permission. The Confederation wanted them to feel small and powerless. It was working on some of his staff, though Tae-Yang had expected this treatment. Finally, a mechanical voice came through the communication system. "Human vessel, proceed to docking bay 773. You will be escorted to the Grand Council immediately upon arrival." The Indomitable Spirit glided into the massive bay. Through the windows, they saw hundreds of alien ships and workers. Reptilian saurine soldiers in armor stood guard. Insectoid hive workers moved cargo with perfect coordination. Crystalline luminars floated past, their bodies catching and reflecting light in strange patterns. An escort of 6 armed saurine met them at the airlock. The leader, his scales dark green and scarred from battles, looked at the humans with barely hidden contempt. "Follow. Do not speak unless addressed. Do not touch anything. Do not stray from the designated path." They walked through corridors that seemed designed to overwhelm visitors. Holographic displays showed the vast territories controlled by the Confederation, worlds conquered, and civilizations brought under their rule. Every few meters, another reminder of their power and humanity's insignificance. The Grand Council chamber was enormous. It could hold thousands, and today it did. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the observation galleries. The 12 ruling species sat on elevated platforms arranged in a circle. At the center stood a speaking platform, empty and waiting. High Arbiter Velkoth of the Saurine Empire rose from his seat. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, his ceremonial armor decorated with symbols of rank and conquest. His voice boomed through the chamber, translated instantly into dozens of languages. "Humans, you stand before the Galactic Confederation, the rightful authority over all civilized space. 50 of your years ago, you achieved faster-than-light travel and ventured beyond your home system. In your ignorance, you claimed territories in the outer spiral, regions rich in resources and strategic value." Tae-Yang stood on the speaking platform, his small human delegation behind him. He kept his expression neutral as Velkoth continued. "The Confederation has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have brought order to chaos, peace to warring species, prosperity to primitive worlds. Every civilization, when it reaches the stars, must accept its place in the natural hierarchy. Today, you will learn yours." A holographic document appeared above the platform, rotating slowly so all could see. The terms were presented in clinical detail. Humanity would surrender all territorial claims beyond their home system. Their military fleet would be reduced to minimal defensive forces. They would pay annual tribute of rare minerals and technological patents. In exchange, the Confederation would graciously allow humanity to continue existing under their protection. "This is standard procedure," Velkoth said, almost bored now. "Every species eventually understands the futility of resistance. Some learn quickly and prosper as junior members of the Confederation. Others resist and suffer greatly before accepting the inevitable. The choice, humans, is yours." The chamber was silent. Thousands of eyes from dozens of species watched the small group of humans. Many aliens had made bets on how quickly humanity would surrender. Most predicted immediate acceptance. A few thought the humans might ask for minor concessions before agreeing. Tae-Yang looked up at Velkoth, then at the other council members. The Hive Queen Zara clicked her mandibles impatiently. The Luminar Archon pulsed with colors that indicated mild curiosity. The others looked either disinterested or vaguely amused. "The human delegation requests 24 hours to consult with our government before providing a formal response," Tae-Yang said calmly. Velkoth's expression suggested he found this mildly annoying, but acceptable. "Very well, you have one rotation of Varantis Prime. Return here with your acceptance, and we will discuss the details of your integration into the Confederation." Dismissed. As they walked back through the corridors, Ji-Woo whispered, "They think this is already over." "Good," Tae-Yang replied. "Let them think that." The quantum communication link established almost instantly, connecting the delegation aboard Indomitable Spirit with Earth's Leadership Council 20,000 light-years away. President Bo-Ra Shin appeared on the main screen, her expression serious. Around her sat the most powerful leaders of United Earth. "Ambassador Park, we watched the session," Bo-Ra said. "Give us your assessment." Tae-Yang stood at the center of the secure briefing room, his delegation seated around him. They are completely confident in their superiority. High Arbiter Velkoth treated this like a formality, not a negotiation. They expect complete surrender within 24 hours. Defense Minister Jae Sung-Kwan leaned forward on the screen. "Did they make any threats?" "Not directly," Admiral Hai-Wan answered, "but the implications were clear. The historical displays showed what happened to species that resisted. Complete military destruction followed by occupation or extinction." On Earth, Chancellor Dae-Hyun Song spoke up. "Then perhaps we should consider their terms, buy ourselves time to build strength slowly, avoid a war we might not survive." "With respect, Chancellor, that strategy has never worked," Dr. Yuna said. She pulled up historical data from the Confederation archives that human intelligence had secretly obtained. 17 species tried that approach. All of them are now extinct or reduced to servant populations. The Confederation does not allow subject species to grow strong enough to challenge them. The screen split to show Dr. Min-Seo Lee in her laboratory. Behind her, banks of equipment hummed with power. "We need to discuss what the Confederation does not know about us." Min-Seo had led the research team for 15 years, ever since human explorers found the ruins on Kepler 442b. The ancient structures belonged to a civilization that had existed millions of years ago, far more advanced than even the Confederation. Inside those ruins, humanity discovered technology that changed everything. "Our analysis is complete," Min-Seo continued. "The weapon systems we reverse-engineered are fully operational. The Cascade Array is positioned and ready. Our new shield technology has passed all tests. Most importantly, our FTL drives are now 3 times faster than anything the Confederation uses." Admiral Hai-Wan pulled up a tactical display. "Our fleet numbers are smaller than theirs, yes, but our ships are more advanced. We have been preparing defensive positions throughout our territories for 5 years. We have hidden platforms, automated defense systems, and allies they do not know about." "Allies?" President Bo-Ra asked. 3 oppressed species under Confederation rule have contacted us secretly," Hai-Wan explained. They have provided intelligence about Confederation military tactics and weaknesses. They are ready to rebel if we provide the spark. Jae-sung studied the military data carefully. If we reject the ultimatum, they will attack with overwhelming force. Can we actually win? Win? Haewon considered the question. In a direct battle of total annihilation, the outcome would be uncertain. But we do not need to destroy them completely. We need to make the cost of conquering humanity too high. We need to break their image of invincibility. Dr. Yuna highlighted another concern. There is a psychological element to consider. The Confederation has ruled through fear and intimidation for millennia. No species has successfully defied them in recorded history. If we surrender now, we validate their entire system. If we resist, even if we lose, we show others that defiance is possible. Chancellor Dae-hyun shook his head. That is a noble sentiment, Dr. Kang, but millions of human lives are at stake. We cannot gamble our entire species on sending a message to the galaxy. We are not gambling, Tae-yang said quietly. We have been preparing for this moment since first contact with the Confederation. We knew this day would come. The question is not whether we can resist. The question is whether we have the courage to stand up when it matters most. The debate continued for hours. Arguments flew back and forth across the communication link. Some leaders advocated acceptance, others demanded defiance. Data and projections filled screens. Military scenarios played out in simulations. Finally, President Bo-ra called for silence. I have heard all arguments. This decision cannot be made by committee or consensus. As President of United Earth, the final choice is mine. She stood, her image filling the screen. 50 years ago, we reached the stars full of hope and wonder. We dreamed of finding friends among the cosmos, of sharing knowledge and building a peaceful future. Instead, we found an empire built on subjugation and fear. They demand we kneel or die. Bo-ra's voice grew stronger. Humanity has faced empires before. We have been conquered, enslaved, and oppressed throughout our history. We have also risen up, fought back, and won our freedom time and again. We do not kneel to tyrants, not on Earth, and not in the stars. She looked directly at Tae-yang through the camera. Ambassador Park, you will return to the Grand Council and reject their ultimatum. Make it clear that humanity claims its territories, maintains its fleet, and pays no tribute. Tell them we seek peace as equals, but we will not accept subjugation. And if they attack? Chancellor Dae-hyun asked. Bo-ra's expression hardened. Then we show them why humanity survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own worst impulses. We survive because we refuse to give up. We thrive because we adapt and overcome. If the Confederation wants to test themselves against that, let them try. Defense Minister Jae-sung stood at attention. All military forces are hereby placed on highest alert. Operation Defiance is authorized. Tae-yang felt a weight settle on his shoulders, but also a strange sense of relief. The decision was made. No more uncertainty. Understood, Madam President. We will deliver your message. The communication ended. The delegation sat in silence for a moment, processing what they had just committed to. Ji-woo finally spoke. They are going to be so surprised. Despite the tension, Tae-yang smiled. Yes, they are. The Grand Council chamber filled even more than before. News had spread that the humans would give their answer, and representatives from across Confederation space wanted to witness another species accept their place in the natural order. Betting pools had been established. Most wagers predicted immediate and complete surrender. Ambassador Tae-yang walked to the central platform with his delegation. The weight of what he was about to do pressed on him, but his steps remained steady. Admiral Haewon walked slightly behind him, her military bearing perfect. Dr. Yuna and Ji-woo flanked them. High Arbiter Velkoth looked down from his elevated seat, showing the barest hint of impatience. Human delegation, you have had adequate time to consult with your leadership. Present your acceptance of the Confederation's generous terms. Tai Yang activated the speaking platform's systems. His voice carried through the massive chamber, translated instantly into every language represented. High Arbiter, members of the Galactic Confederation, I thank you for your hospitality and for the time granted to consult with Earth's government. We have carefully considered your proposal. He paused, meeting Velkoth's eyes directly. We respectfully decline. The chamber erupted, not in anger at first, but in confused chatter. Several representatives laughed, thinking they had misheard or that translation errors had occurred. The Confederation's terms were not proposals to be declined. They were facts to be accepted. Velkoth raised one massive clawed hand, calling for silence. You decline? Perhaps you misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. The Confederation has declared its terms. You will comply. No, Tai Yang said simply. We will not. Now anger began to replace confusion. Hive Queen Zara's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation among her species. The Luminar Archon pulsed red, indicating displeasure. Tai Yang continued before they could interrupt. Humanity claims the territories we have settled in the outer spiral. These regions were uninhabited when we arrived. We have established colonies, built infrastructure, and made them our home. We will not abandon them. Furthermore, we will maintain our fleet at current strength levels, as is our right as a sovereign species. We will pay no tribute, as we have committed no crime and owe no debt. We seek peaceful coexistence with all species, but we will not accept subjugation. Velkoth stood, his full height imposing. His voice boomed with barely controlled rage. You dare? Do you have any concept of the forces arrayed against you? The Confederation has crushed 1,000 rebellions. We have reduced entire species to dust for less defiance than you show now. We are aware of your history, Dr. Yuna said, stepping forward. She activated a data transmission that sent files to every terminal in the chamber. In fact, we have studied it extensively. Holographic displays throughout the council chamber began showing documents, communications, and records. The Confederation's own classified archives obtained through methods they would never suspect. Records of manufactured threats used to justify conquests. False flag attacks blamed on innocent species. Genocides committed against populations that refused to surrender. The chamber descended into chaos. Representatives shouted denials and accusations. Some species demanded to know how humanity obtained such classified information. Others recognized documents they themselves had helped create and fell silent. Jiwoo added to the disruption by activating another display. We have also taken the liberty of sharing this information with every news network, independent media outlet, and communication channel in Confederation space. By now, billions of citizens across hundreds of worlds are reading about the true history of their government. Velkoth's rage was no longer controlled. This is an act of war. You have stolen Confederation secrets, violated our security, and spread lies and propaganda. You will be destroyed for this. They are not lies, Tai Yang said calmly. Every document is authentic, verified against multiple sources. The Confederation's own records condemn it. We have simply made the truth available to those who deserve to know it. The Luminar Archon spoke, its translated voice carrying an edge humanity had not heard before. Your theft of information demonstrates capability we did not anticipate. How did you penetrate our security networks? Admiral Haywan allowed herself a small smile. That would be telling. But since you ask about our capabilities, allow me to share something else. She activated another display. This one showed real-time data on Confederation fleet positions, communication protocols, and defensive installations. Not historical data, but current military intelligence. Ship movements updated in real time, command codes that were supposed to change daily, tactical weaknesses in their formations. "This is impossible," the Hive Queen said, her mechanical voice translator struggling to convey her species' equivalent of shock. "These are our most protected systems." "Nothing is impossible," Haywan replied, "just very difficult. And humanity has become quite good at doing difficult things." Taeyang raised his hand, calling attention back to himself. "Let me be absolutely clear about Earth's position. We do not seek war. We do not wish to conquer or destroy. We simply refuse to be conquered or destroyed ourselves. Your empire has lasted 10,000 years because species believed they had no choice but to submit. We are here to demonstrate that there is always a choice." "You are condemning your entire species to annihilation," Velkoth said, but some of the certainty had left his voice. "Perhaps," Taeyang acknowledged, "or perhaps we are beginning something new. Either way, we have made our decision. Humanity's borders are now closed to Confederation vessels. Any ship entering our territory without explicit permission will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly." He looked around the chamber one last time. "We came here willing to talk as equals. We were met with demands for surrender. We leave you with this thought. The age of conquest is ending. The species watching this broadcast will remember that humanity stood up and said no. Whether we survive or fall, that example will endure." The human delegation turned and began walking toward the exit. No one tried to stop them. The guards who might have intervened stood frozen, uncertain of their orders in this unprecedented situation. As they reached the doorway, Jiwoo looked back. The chamber was still in chaos, representatives arguing, some demanding action, others questioning everything they thought they knew about the Confederation. "Do you think we changed any minds?" she asked quietly. "We did not come here to change minds," Taeyang replied. "We came here to draw a line. The Confederation can choose to respect it or cross it, but either way, they will never forget the day humanity walked away." They boarded the indomitable spirit and departed Varantis Prime. Behind them, the Galactic Confederation faced a problem it had not encountered in millennia. A species that refused to kneel, possessed unexpected capabilities, and had just exposed their darkest secrets to the entire galaxy. The Grand Council session continued for 18 hours as they debated their response, but everyone present already knew how it would end. The Confederation could not allow this defiance to stand. War was inevitable. The only question was how badly it would cost them. The emergency session of the Grand Council stretched into its third day. High Arbiter Velkoth had not slept, sustained by stimulants and rage. Around him, the 12 ruling species argued with an intensity rarely seen in the chamber's long history. "We must respond with overwhelming force," Velkoth insisted, his clawed fist striking the table before him. "Every moment we hesitate, our authority weakens. Subject species across the galaxy are watching. They must see what happens to those who defy us." The Hive Queen Zara shifted her massive bulk. "The humans revealed classified information we believed secure. They demonstrated intelligence capabilities that should not exist in a species so young. Perhaps we underestimated them." "Underestimated?" Velkoth's laugh was harsh. "They are one species occupying a handful of systems. We control thousands of worlds and command fleets that outnumber theirs 100 to 1. Numbers do not lie." But doubt had crept into the chamber. The human intelligence files spread across the galaxy were having their intended effect. On 70 worlds, protests had erupted. Subject species demanding explanations for the crimes documented in the archives. 3 minor rebellions had already begun in outer territories. The Luminar Archon pulsed with colors indicating deep thought. The humans did not merely steal our data, they infiltrated our most secure networks without detection. Our best analysts have found no trace of their intrusion methods. This suggests technology we do not understand. Then we will capture their technology when we crush them, Velkoth said. I have ordered the 7th Battle Fleet to mobilize. 8,000 warships will gather at the border of human space, the largest armada ever assembled. The humans will have one final chance to surrender before we reduce their worlds to ash. Not all council members supported this action. The amphibian Krell collective representative rose to speak. The Krell withdraw from this military action. We cite internal matters requiring our immediate attention. Cowardice, Velkoth spat. Pragmatism, the Krell replied calmly. We have studied the human delegation's behavior. They did not appear desperate or afraid. They walked away from this council as if they held superior position. Species about to be annihilated do not behave this way. The avian skyborne flock's representative agreed. Our carrier groups will not participate. We require more information before committing to conflict. Velkoth saw his coalition fracturing. Very well. The Saurine Empire will lead this campaign. Those with courage may join us. Those without can explain to their populations why they allowed human defiance to stand. While the council argued, 3 individuals made a choice that would alter the war before it began. In a secure facility on Varantis Prime, Luminar analyst Praxel copied every file his clearance allowed accessing. Battle plans, tactical doctrines, weapons specifications, command protocols, everything. He was not alone. A Krell military strategist named Vokrel did the same from his station. In another section of the facility, a young Saurine intelligence officer called Rathan downloaded classified assessments of Confederation military capabilities. They did not know each other, had never communicated, but they shared the same realization. The human revelations had exposed truths they could no longer ignore. The Confederation they served was built on lies and atrocities, and the humans, incredibly, seemed to offer an alternative. Within hours of each other, all 3 boarded small vessels and fled toward human space, carrying data worth more than fleets. On Earth, the leadership watched Confederation fleet movements through their network of hidden observation posts. President Bo-Ra sat in the command center deep beneath Geneva, surrounded by military advisors and defense coordinators. Confirmed count? She asked. Defense Minister Jae Sung studied the displays. 7,943 ships detected so far, still gathering. Mix of capital ships, cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. Estimated arrival at our border in 6 days. Our fleet strength? 1,200 combat vessels ready for deployment. Another 300 in final preparation stages. Defense platforms are active throughout our territory. The numbers looked impossible. Nearly 8,000 enemy ships against 1,500 of theirs, even counting the platforms. But numbers alone did not tell the full story. Captain Sung Jin Ro reviewed tactical data aboard his flagship, the Taegukgi. He commanded the defense fleet positioned near the border. Every ship under his command featured technology the Confederation had never encountered. Quantum shields that could deflect energy weapons, phase shift drives that allowed movement through normal space at impossible speeds, AI-assisted targeting systems that gave human ships coordination the aliens could not match. Sir, we are receiving a priority communication, his communications officer reported. Unknown vessel requesting asylum. They claim to be Confederation defectors with critical intelligence. Sungjin authorized the ship's approach. Hours later, he met with Praxel, Vokrel, and Rathan in a secure briefing room. What they revealed exceeded his best hopes. The Confederation fleet doctrine has not changed in 2,000 years, Vokrel explained, displaying tactical formations on a holographic screen. They rely on overwhelming numbers and sustained firepower. Their ships are heavily armored but slow. Their command structure is rigid and hierarchical. Praxel added more data. Their last major conflict was 1,800 years ago. Since then, They have faced only minor rebellions from technologically inferior species. Their crews are trained, but they have no recent combat experience against peer-level opponents. Rathan provided the final piece. Most critically, their intelligence on human capabilities is minimal. They know you achieved FTL travel 50 years ago. They assume your technology is primitive compared to theirs. They do not know about your advances. Sung Jin transmitted this intelligence to Earth immediately. The tactical picture shifted dramatically. The Confederation was mobilizing an overwhelming force, but that force was designed to fight wars that no longer existed. Back on Varantis Prime, the Grand Council finally reached consensus. High Arbiter Velkoth broadcast a message across all channels, ensuring every species in the galaxy would hear it. To the human species, you have refused the generous terms offered by the Galactic Confederation. You have stolen classified information and spread lies throughout civilized space. You have committed acts of espionage and sabotage against the lawful authority of this galaxy. Therefore, the Confederation declares a state of war against humanity. You have 7 days to surrender unconditionally, abandon your territories, disarm your fleet, and submit to Confederation authority. Refuse and you will be destroyed. Every human world will burn. Your species will serve as an eternal warning to others who might consider defiance. The message ended with images of the assembled fleet. Thousands of warships, an armada vast enough to darken the stars. The implied threat was clear: submit or face annihilation. Earth's response came not from the government but from unexpected sources. A university student named Subin Park created a simple video message. She stood in front of Earth's flag and spoke for 3 minutes about freedom, dignity, and the right to exist, without bowing to tyrants. She ended with 4 words that became humanity's rallying cry: "We will not kneel." The video spread across human networks in hours. Millions shared it, added to it, created their own versions. Humans across dozens of colonies repeated the same phrase. Artists painted it on walls. Musicians wrote songs about it. Children chanted it in schools. The message reached beyond human space. On oppressed worlds throughout the Confederation, beings who had lived under alien rule for generations heard it and felt something they had not felt in centuries: hope. The countdown began. 7 days until the ultimatum expired. 7 days until the largest fleet in galactic history crossed into human territory. 7 days until the Confederation learned whether their 10,000-year reign would continue or if something new was beginning. High Arbiter Velkoth was confident in the outcome. His fleet was unstoppable. The humans would break. He had no idea how wrong he was. The 7 days passed in tense preparation. Across human space, civilians evacuated from border colonies to safer systems. Defense platforms activated their weapons systems for the first time since installation. Fleet captains reviewed battle plans and said quiet prayers to whatever gods they believed in. On the Confederation side, Fleet Marshal Grath On commanded the advance force of 500 ships. His orders were clear: cross into human territory, proceed to Harmony Station, and make an example of the colony. Show the humans the cost of defiance, break their will to resist. Grathon was a veteran of dozens of pacification campaigns. He had crushed rebellions on 17 worlds. This assignment seemed almost too easy. 500 ships against a civilian station with minimal defenses. The battle would last minutes at most. Harmony Station orbited a blue gas giant in the outer edge of human territory. 50,000 civilians lived there, mostly miners and their families extracting rare gases from the planet's atmosphere. The station itself was a rotating cylinder 3 kilometers long, providing artificial gravity through spin. As the Confederation fleet approached, Grathon expected to detect human military vessels fleeing or taking defensive positions. His sensors showed nothing. The station appeared nearly defenseless, with only a handful of small patrol craft. They abandoned their people, Grathon's second-in-command observed. The humans have no honor. They have no chance, Grathon replied. Open a channel to the station. On Harmony Station, Administrator Kyung-Soo Han received the incoming transmission. He had volunteered to stay behind with 3,000 others who refused to evacuate. Around him, the station's operations center buzzed with quiet activity. Grathon's translated voice boomed through the speakers. Human Station, you are in violation of Confederation space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 3 minutes to comply. Kyung-Soo activated his own transmission. Confederation fleet, you are in violation of human territory. Turn back now or face the consequences. Grathon laughed. You threaten us? With what? I see no fleet. I see no weapons. I see only a station full of civilians about to learn what happens to those who defy the Confederation. The transmission ended. Grathon ordered his ships into attack formation. Weapons systems powered up. Targeting computers locked onto the station. In 30 seconds, enough firepower to shatter a moon would reduce Harmony Station to debris. Sir, the sensor officer shouted. Massive energy signatures appearing directly in our formation. Space itself seemed to tear open as 200 human warships decloaked simultaneously. They had been there the entire time. Hidden by technology the Confederation did not know existed, waiting in perfect position. Captain Sung Jin stood on the bridge of the Tagukgi, positioned directly beside Grathon's flagship. His tactical display showed the Confederation ships in complete disarray, their formation compromised by human vessels appearing in their midst. All ships, execute Plan Hammer, Sung Jin ordered calmly. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. Human ships moved with speed that seemed to violate physics, their phase-shift drives allowing maneuvers no Confederation vessel could match. They fired weapons that bent space itself, bypassing shields and striking directly at ship hulls. Confederation crews, trained but inexperienced in actual peer combat, struggled to respond. Their targeting systems could not track human ships that appeared, fired, and vanished in seconds. Their weapons, designed for sustained bombardment, proved too slow against fast-moving targets. A saurine destroyer exploded as a human lance weapon punched through its reactor. 3 cruisers collided trying to evade attacks from multiple directions simultaneously. Grathon's flagship shuddered under repeated hits, its shields failing faster than they could regenerate. "Return fire!" Grathon roared. "All ships, target the humans!" But the Confederation fleet was in chaos, ships firing at enemies that were no longer there, formations breaking apart as captains made independent decisions without coordinated strategy. The rigid command structure that worked well in exercises proved brittle under the stress of real combat. 18 minutes after the battle began, 70 Confederation ships were destroyed. Another 200 were crippled, drifting with disabled engines or catastrophic hull breaches. The rest were in full retreat, their captains having independently decided that dying in a lost battle served no purpose. Grathon's flagship, the Retribution, took a direct hit to its command deck. The blast killed most of his bridge crew and left the ship powerless. Grathon himself survived, protected by his ceremonial armor. Human Marines, led by Lieutenant Hyunwoo Baek, boarded the disabled flagship. They moved through corridors with practiced efficiency, neutralizing resistance and securing key sections. Hyunwoo found Grathon in the damaged bridge, injured but alive. "Fleet Marshal Grathon," Hyunwoo said in accented but understandable saurine language. "You are now a prisoner of the United Earth Defense Force." Grathon stared at the human in disbelief. Humans were supposed to be weak, primitive, easily conquered. Yet here he sat, defeated in less than 20 minutes by an enemy he had dismissed as insignificant. How, was all he could ask. "You assumed we were inferior because we were younger?" Hyunwoo replied. "You assumed numbers alone would win? You assumed we would be afraid? You assumed wrong. Captain Sung Jin made a decision that would define the battle's significance. He allowed the surviving Confederation ships to retreat. His weapons could have destroyed them, but he let them go, knowing they would carry a message more powerful than any transmission. Before they fled, Sung Jin broadcast one final statement to the retreating fleet. "Leave our space. This is your only warning. Tell your leaders that humanity will defend itself. Tell them that the age of conquest is over. Tell them that we will not kneel." The Confederation ships jumped to FTL, fleeing back toward their staging areas with tales of impossible human capabilities and devastating defeat. Behind them, Harmony Station remained intact, its civilian population safe. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than the retreating ships could travel. The mighty Confederation fleet, the force that had crushed 1,000 rebellions, had been routed by a numerically inferior human force. The species that was supposed to surrender without a fight had instead won a decisive victory. On Vorantis Prime, High Arbiter Velkoth received the reports with rage that transcended words. He had sent 500 ships to make an example. Instead, the humans had made an example of him. 70 ships destroyed, 200 more damaged beyond immediate repair, and his finest fleet marshal captured. "Mobilize everything," Velkoth ordered. "I want every available ship at the human border. We will crush them with sheer numbers. Their tricks and technology will not save them when we attack with our full might." But doubt had infected the Confederation military. Captains who watched the battle recordings saw tactics they could not counter, weapons they did not understand, and coordination that surpassed their own. Crews whispered that perhaps the humans could not be defeated. Perhaps the age of Confederation dominance was ending. On Earth, President Bo-Ra addressed her people. "Today, humanity proved that we can defend ourselves. We proved that courage and skill can overcome numerical superiority. But this is only the beginning. The Confederation will not accept defeat easily. They will come again with greater numbers and desperate fury. We must be ready." Captain Sung Jin watched the last Confederation ship vanish from his sensors. The battle was won, but the war had only started. The enemy would return, and next time, they would not underestimate humanity. But next time, humanity would be ready, and every species watching across the galaxy would remember the day humans made the Confederation bleed. Media coordinator Yoon-ji Lim sat in the communications center aboard Earth's orbital station Unity-1. Before her stretched dozens of screens showing broadcasts being transmitted to every corner of known space. What she was about to do had never been attempted in galactic history. "All channels open," her assistant confirmed. "We are broadcasting live to 473 worlds across Confederation space." Yoon-ji took a breath and activated the system. For the first time ever, a war would be witnessed in real time by billions of beings across hundreds of species. Humanity had decided that the galaxy should watch as they fought for their freedom. This is Unity Station Earth, broadcasting on all frequencies. What you are about to witness is the defense of human territory against Confederation aggression. We share this with you so that all species may see the truth of what happens here. High Arbiter Velkoth had assembled 7,000 ships at the human border. After the defeat at Harmony Station, he demanded overwhelming force. Every available vessel from across Confederation space joined the Armada. This time, there would be no clever ambushes or tricks. Pure numbers would crush human resistance. Admiral Hei-Wan commanded the human defense from her flagship Incheon. Around her, captains awaited orders as Confederation forces began crossing into human territory along multiple vectors. The enemy plan was simple. Attack everywhere at once, overwhelm defensive positions through sheer numbers, and push straight for Earth itself. "They are not trying strategy," Hei-Wan observed. "They are trying to break us through mass alone. Then we use that against them." her tactical officer replied. The plan called Labyrinth activated. Human ships did not meet the Confederation fleet in direct battle. Instead, they appeared, struck fast, and vanished before enemy weapons could target them effectively. Their superior FTL drives allowed them to jump short distances almost instantly, something Confederation ships could not match. Across 5 star systems, the pattern repeated. Confederation ships entered a system expecting resistance. Human vessels appeared from unexpected angles, fired devastating salvos, and disappeared. Automated defense platforms activated, adding their firepower before self-destructing to avoid capture. Space mines, hidden for years, detonated as enemy formations passed through carefully prepared zones. In orbit around the colony world of New Busan, 200 Confederation ships found themselves trapped in a gravitational anomaly created by human gravity well generators. Unable to escape or maneuver properly, they became easy targets for defensive batteries on the planet's surface and moons. Cyber warfare specialist Yeon Seo Han led teams that infiltrated Confederation networks as the battle raged. She inserted false data into their tactical systems, showing human ships where none existed. She fed incorrect intelligence to fleet commanders, making them believe they faced larger forces than actually opposed them. She created communications chaos, preventing proper coordination between Confederation battle groups. The Confederation forces, designed for straightforward confrontation, struggled against human tactics. Captains used to overwhelming weaker opponents found themselves confused and frustrated. Every time they concentrated forces for a decisive blow, the humans scattered and reformed elsewhere. But the Confederation had numbers. Despite losses, they pushed deeper into human space through sheer mass. For every ship destroyed, 2 more advanced. The human strategy was working, but it could not hold forever against such overwhelming force. Then the rebellions began. On 17 worlds under Confederation control, oppressed species rose up simultaneously. The Krell Collective formally declared independence and seized Confederation military installations in their territory. The insectoid hive workers on 3 industrial worlds went on strike, crippling supply lines. A movement called the Broken Chains, led by a former slave soldier named Vectar, spread across a dozen systems. Each rebellion alone was minor, but together they forced the Confederation to divert ships from the human front. Velkoth faced an impossible choice. Ignore the rebellions and risk losing control of core territories, or weaken his attack on humanity to suppress the uprisings. He chose to press forward against humanity while sending minimal forces to address the rebellions. It was a mistake that would cost him dearly. Dr. Min Seo chose this moment to activate humanity's ultimate weapon. Not a gun or a bomb, but a demonstration of power that made every species in the galaxy stop and reconsider everything they thought they knew. The Cascade Array had been positioned secretly near 12 major Confederation worlds over the past 5 years. Small devices, barely larger than satellites, completely undetectable to Confederation sensors. Now they activated simultaneously. On 12 uninhabited worlds across Confederation space, every piece of technology stopped working for exactly 60 seconds. Power grids went dark, computers shut down. Communication networks went silent. Starships drifting in orbit lost all power. Defense platforms deactivated. Even simple electronic devices ceased functioning. Then, after exactly 1 minute, everything turned back on. Min Seo broadcast a message across all channels. The Cascade Array is now active near every major Confederation world, including Vorantis Prime. We have demonstrated it on uninhabited systems as a warning. Humanity possesses the ability to disable all technology across your core territories simultaneously. We choose not to use this weapon because we are not conquerors. We are defenders. But let there be no doubt, we can cripple your entire civilization with a single command. The psychological impact was devastating. Confederation leadership realized that humanity could destroy their empire without firing a shot. Every system that depended on technology, every life support system, every communication network, every defensive installation could be rendered useless in an instant. In the midst of the battle, Confederation forces received new orders, not from Velkoth, but from an emergency coalition of junior council members who had staged a coup while the High Arbiter was distracted by the war. The new message was simple. All Confederation forces cease hostilities immediately. Withdraw from human territory. This order comes from the Provisional Council Authority. Compliance is mandatory. Velkoth tried to countermand the order, but his authority had evaporated. The junior council members had used the chaos of war and the exposure of Confederation crimes to seize power. They had the support of enough species that resistance would cause civil war. Across human space, Confederation ships received the withdrawal order. Some captains complied immediately, relieved to escape the nightmare of fighting humans. Others hesitated, unwilling to accept defeat, but eventually all began retreating from human territory. Captain Sung Jin watched the enemy withdraw on his tactical displays. His ships had fought in 3 systems, jumping between battlefields using their superior drives. His crew was exhausted, but victorious. "Should we pursue?" his tactical officer asked. "No," Sung Jin replied. "Let them go. We have proven our point." On worlds across Confederation space, beings watched the broadcasts of human ships standing victorious as the mighty Confederation fleet retreated. The species that was supposed to be crushed in days had instead fought the Empire to a standstill and forced their withdrawal. Admiral Haywan transmitted one final message as the last Confederation ships fled human territory. To all species watching, humanity did not seek this war. We defended ourselves because we refused to be conquered. We hope this is the end of hostilities, but we are prepared to continue if necessary. Choose peace. Velkoth, stripped of power and facing trial, watched the broadcasts from a detention cell. He had underestimated humanity completely. Their technology, their tactics, their will to resist. His 10,000-year-old empire had broken against them like waves against stone. The casualties were counted. Humanity lost 87 ships destroyed and 200 damaged. Confederation forces lost over 1,500 ships destroyed and 3,000 more damaged. But the real damage was not to ships, but to confidence. The Confederation's image of invincibility was shattered forever. Yonji ended the broadcast with a simple statement. "This concludes live coverage of the war. Humanity remains free. May all species remember what they witnessed here." Across the galaxy, beings from hundreds of species did remember. They remembered that the mighty Confederation could be resisted. They remembered that one species, united and determined, had said no and made it stick. They remembered that empires built on fear could fall when someone finally refused to be afraid. The age of Confederation dominance was over. What came next, nobody yet knew. 3 weeks after the Confederation fleet retreated from human space, Ambassador Tae Yang returned to Vorantis Prime. The massive constructed world looked the same from orbit, but everything about it had changed. The ships surrounding it now represented a dozen newly independent species alongside the remaining Confederation members. The Grand Council chamber felt different too. The elevated platforms where the 12 ruling species once sat in judgment were gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where all representatives sat as equals. The holographic displays no longer showed conquered territories but proposed zones of cooperation. Tae Yang walked to the center speaking platform, but this time, he was not alone. President Bo-Ra attended via holographic projection, as did Defense Minister Jae Sung and Dr. Min Seo. The human delegation was larger now, including representatives from Earth's colonies and allied species. The chamber was quieter than during their first visit. No jeering crowds or confident dismissals. The beings present understood they were witnessing history being written. A luminar named Cylon, elected as temporary speaker for the Provisional Council, began the session. Ambassador Park, you return to Vorantis Prime under very different circumstances than your last visit. The Confederation as it existed is no more. We gather today to discuss what will replace it. Tae-Yang nodded respectfully. President Shin has authorized me to present humanity's proposal for a new galactic order. The holographic displays activated, showing a framework document that human diplomats and allied species had been developing during the 3 weeks of ceasefire. Dr. Yuna stepped forward to explain the details. We propose the creation of the Galactic Commonwealth, a voluntary association of sovereign species dedicated to mutual cooperation, shared prosperity, and collective security. Unlike the Confederation, membership would be freely chosen, not imposed. Unlike the old system, all members would have equal voice and vote, regardless of their military or economic power. The proposal outlined specific structures. A General Assembly, where every member species held 1 vote. A Security Council with rotating membership to prevent permanent power blocks. A Court of Justice to resolve disputes between species. Economic cooperation zones based on mutual benefit rather than tribute and exploitation. Most revolutionary was the proposal for technology sharing. Species would voluntarily exchange scientific knowledge, raising all members rather than keeping advantages for the powerful. Defense agreements would be collective, with members pledging to protect each other rather than forcing the weak to pay for protection. This is idealistic fantasy, a Saurine representative objected. His species had lost the most power in the Confederation's fall. Species act in their own self-interest. The strong dominate the weak. This has always been true. President Bora's hologram addressed the chamber directly. It has been true because species accepted it as inevitable. Humanity also has a history of the strong dominating the weak. We called it slavery, feudalism, colonialism, imperialism. Each time we thought it was natural and permanent. Each time, we eventually recognized it as wrong and changed. She gestured to the assembled representatives. The Confederation lasted 10,000 years by making species believe they had no choice. Humanity proved there is always a choice. We can choose to build something better. We can choose cooperation over conquest. We can choose equality over hierarchy. The hive queen of the insectoid species spoke, her translated voice carrying throughout the chamber. The hive has existed under Confederation rule for 3,000 years. We were conquered, our queens killed, our workers enslaved. If humanity had not resisted, we would still be subjects. We support this proposal. One by one, species announced their positions. The Krell Collective, having already declared independence, strongly supported the Commonwealth. The Skyborn flocks, tired of serving in Confederation military campaigns, voted yes. The Broken Chains movement, representing dozens of formerly oppressed species, pledged their support. Not all agreed. Some species, particularly those that had benefited from the old system, resisted change. They argued for maintaining the Confederation's structure with reforms. They warned that dissolving the established order would lead to chaos and war. Chancellor Dae-Hyun, attending from Earth, addressed these concerns. Change is frightening. The familiar feels safer than the unknown, even when the familiar is unjust. But consider what the Confederation cost. How many species were destroyed? How many worlds burned? How many beings lived and died in slavery? Can we honestly say that was stability worth preserving? The debate continued for 3 days. Arguments flew back and forth. Some species walked out temporarily before returning. Compromises were negotiated on specific points. The Commonwealth Charter was revised 7 times based on feedback from dozens of species. Finally, Speaker Ceylon called for a vote. All species present indicate your position on the proposal to dissolve the Galactic Confederation and establish the Galactic Commonwealth as outlined in the revised charter. The vote was not unanimous, but it was overwhelming. 217 species voted in favor, 38 voted against, 12 abstained. The Galactic Confederation, 10,000 years old, formally dissolved. The Galactic Commonwealth was born. High Arbiter Velkoth watched from a holding facility where he awaited trial. His empire had crumbled in weeks. Everything he believed about power and dominance had been proven wrong by one stubborn species that refused to surrender. Former Confederation leaders faced a new court of justice, charged with crimes committed during their rule. The trials would be fair but thorough, examining 10 millennia of abuses. Some would face punishment. Others would be allowed to retire quietly. The galaxy was choosing justice over revenge, another human suggestion. 6 months after the Commonwealth's formation, Ambassador Tae Yang stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, the new Commonwealth headquarters built in neutral space. The station was massive, larger even than Varantis Prime, designed to house representatives from hundreds of species. Through the windows, he watched ships arriving. Not warships, but vessels carrying diplomats, scientists, artists, and merchants. Species that had been enemies for centuries were meeting as equals. Technology was being shared, cultural exchanges organized, joint scientific projects launched. Jiwoo joined him at the window. It is strange seeing it actually working. When we walked away from the Confederation's ultimatum, I thought we might all die. I never imagined this. We still face challenges, Tae Yang replied. Some species refuse to join the Commonwealth. Pirates and warlords exploit the power vacuum in former Confederation territories. Rebuilding trust after millennia of oppression will take generations. But we have started, Jiwoo said. That matters. A priority communication arrived on Tai Yang's datapad. He read it and smiled. Another species from the Outer Rim has made first contact. They heard about the Commonwealth and want to join. This had been happening regularly. Species, previously too afraid to reveal themselves, were emerging now that the Confederation no longer hunted potential rivals. The galaxy was larger and more diverse than anyone had known. Admiral Hei Wan transmitted from her flagship, now leading the Commonwealth Defense Initiative. Ambassador, our patrol detected a Saurine raider group attacking a Krell civilian transport. Permission to intervene? Granted, Tae Yang replied. Protect the transport and offer the raiders a choice between standing down or facing consequences. This, too, was new. Species defending each other not because they were forced to, but because they chose to be part of something larger than themselves. The Commonwealth was not perfect, but it was better than what came before. On Earth, President Bo-Ra addressed a crowd gathered in Seoul to celebrate Commonwealth Day. When humanity reached the stars, we hoped to find friends. Instead, we found an empire that demanded our submission. We could have surrendered. Many thought we should. But we chose to stand for our principles, even against impossible odds. We did not defeat the Confederation through strength alone, though our defenders fought with incredible courage. We won because we offered an alternative to endless domination. We showed the galaxy that another way was possible. We proved that species could choose freedom over fear. The crowd cheered, but Bo-Ra raised her hand for quiet. Let us not forget the cost. We lost thousands of people in the war. Ships and stations were destroyed. Families mourned. Victory came at a price, as it always does. We honor those who fell by building something worthy of their sacrifice. Captain Sung Jin retired from active service to teach at the new Commonwealth Naval Academy. His students came from 40 different species, learning tactics and strategy from the human who had defeated the mighty Confederation fleet. He taught them not just how to fight, but why fighting should always be the last option. Dr. Min Seo led the Commonwealth Science Initiative, coordinating research across hundreds of worlds. The technology-sharing agreements were producing breakthroughs monthly. Medicine improved, energy production advanced. Planets once barren were being terraformed through combined efforts. The Cascade Array was dismantled under Commonwealth supervision. Humanity had proven they possessed the weapon, but chose to destroy it as a gesture of good faith. Power built on threats was not the foundation the new order needed. Yon Seo-han became the Commonwealth's first Director of Information Security, but her role was transparency, not secrecy. She ensured that citizens across all member worlds had access to information about their governments. No more hidden archives, no more classified atrocities. Years would pass before the Commonwealth truly solidified. Conflicts would arise. Some species would leave, others would join. The balance between unity and sovereignty would require constant negotiation. Democracy was messy and complicated, but it was better than empire. Tai Yang received a message from a newly contacted species far beyond previously known space. They asked a simple question. "We heard that you walked away when the rulers of the galaxy demanded you kneel. Is this true?" He composed his response carefully. "Yes, it is true. We were told to surrender or be destroyed. We chose a third option. We chose to stand and defend our freedom. We chose to believe that the galaxy could be better than it was. We were right." The message sent, Tai Yang looked out at Unity Station, at the ships from hundreds of worlds working together. Humanity had done more than survive. They had changed the galaxy by simply refusing to accept injustice as inevitable. The age of conquest had ended. The age of cooperation had begun. And it started the day humans walked away from negotiations, looked an empire in the eye, and said one simple word: no.